Today we're going to be doing some stock market analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, and Nvidia. We're going to do a little bit of analysis now, but we're going to do a big analysis on Sunday going over the week ahead. Okay, so come back and join us on Sunday. Let's get into the SPY. With the SPY, the main thing I notice here is we're closing outside of that weekly range. That's pretty impressive because 68% of the time we will close within these purple lines, and I'm going to adjust those for Sunday. Okay, that way you have at least the SPY for the week ahead. Okay. Now, what we're noticing here is though we are closing outside of that weekly range and the week is actually over, so we're going to set up a new range. The monthly range is the big thing that I'm signaling here. We are way outside of that monthly range, and we have still almost half of a whole month to come back into that range 68% of the time. So there's a 68% chance that we're actually going to, land within these two yellow lines here by the end of the month. Now, SPY on the hourly here, we just want to point out that there is that divergence. Okay, we have that divergence, but you're noticing that that MACD is still in positive territory. Now, we are going to go over, more about this and where we could go to set up that next divergence, that triple divergence, right? But right now, I just want to go over that. Hey, we do have that divergence, but we are still in positive territory, and we'll go deeper into this on Sunday's video. Qs actually managed to close just outside of that weekly range. So the SPY kind of cleared it pretty comfortably, but the Qs are struggling right at that weekly range, but we did close outside of it. So that's something to pay attention to. I'm really paying attention to this gap we left behind. We had indecision and then we gapped up from the data that we got this week. You're noticing that's a pretty big gap up, and we could actually come and fill this very, very soon. That's just something I'm paying attention to, but the main thing on the Qs I'm paying attention to on the daily is the fact that we are outside of its monthly move as well, and we're well outside of it at this point. We are well percentage points above that range right there, so that 370s, 371 area is where we could actually see act like a magnet if we do start to see some selling into next week, and we'll get into that a little bit more for Sunday's video. Now, this hourly here, what does it remind you of? It reminds you of SPY. It looks very, very similar. And the overall thing is, yes, you do have that divergence, but we are in positive territory. That's mainly what the important thing that we need to get, to understand throughout our weekend is, hey, yes, there could be some divergences forming. There could be some divergences confirming, but we are still in a positive trend. So we want to be open to some kind of upside. And on Sunday, I will most likely do some bearish and bullish cases for the week ahead. Okay, Apple. There's plenty to talk about on Apple. I'm really excited to talk about this one come Sunday. But, what I'm mainly pointing out here is the selling from this zone. Okay, we see dramatic selling from this area. We gap below, we come up to it, we see dramatic selling again, and now we're in it one more time. And overall, around this day here, I was like, ooh, if we would pull back here, it would look nice. Get some kind of retest and then head higher, break through that zone, right? Just break clean through it, test the top. Now we're trickling up into it when we're seeing weakness on those shorter time frames, and we actually didn't even fill that gap on a closing basis. We didn't even fill that gap, okay? So maybe that is unfinished business, say for Monday or something like that, because as we switch into the hourly, you can see those divergences getting pretty tight on Apple, okay? So on Apple, we have those tight divergences on the hourly, but there is a little bit of room. So maybe we do use this little bit of consolidation in here. See this little mini fight between bulls and bears, trying to keep it above the 20 on the hourly. That's overall what I see as consolidation is a little bit of a fight between the bulls and bears, and then we see who can break through a certain point, and maybe that point is just the top here to go fill that gap. So it's interesting to me that we actually didn't fill this gap on this strong move. Maybe there's a little more room to the upside, and we'll talk about this a little further on Sunday. It's funny, Apple actually looked like it was consolidating to go higher, while Tesla, after breaking out of this head and shoulders to the upside, getting that retest, at this point, it actually looks like this could be consolidation to make another move lower. But the only thing that I will say to the opposite side of that coin is still in positive territory on an hourly MACD. Okay, still in positive territory on this hourly MACD, meaning we could actually see some kind of test of this high here. So I'm really looking forward to that to go over with the bullish and bearish cases come a couple of days from now. Amazon, the reason I really liked going over this yesterday and today, and I'm probably going to go over it again on Sunday, just to show you guys how these weekly ranges, I actually put up the weekly range for Amazon on here so we could see it, and how we react from those ranges. You see it acts like a magnet, and that's what I'm talking about on the monthly when we talked about the SPY a moment ago. They can act like a magnet, and once we get to them, you see we consolidate, and we tried to break through it one more time, and then we see that resistance step in, okay? We see that selling come in. And what happens right away? We go to the bottom of the expected move, right down in here, right? So it acted like a magnet. We pushed down into it, and guess what? We used it as support to stay within this range, which is pretty cool. So 68% of the time to this week, we did land within this range on Amazon. Overall, you see the MACD, it's in positive territory. We're really going to go over a lot of these stocks come Sunday, okay? So I'm really going to, I already carved out some time for tomorrow to really sit down and look at these charts and then make a video about it. So you can look forward to Sunday's video. I think it'll be a good one. Now, NVIDIA, I would just say pay attention to right now. I would really pay attention to right now because you are seeing a test of this level up here, okay? That high, 497, right? We're testing those type of levels right now. And so you could see some sellers step in if this thing doesn't start to push higher or even start to consolidate sideways. So what we want to pay attention to here is some kind of pullback forming. And in order to do that, let's go into the shorter time frames we see on the hourly. It's a very similar story, but you notice this is actually very important. I really like that we came down right here pretty significantly to make the MACD a little lower because that gets it closer to that center line. So we're really going to talk about that point on Sunday, but right now you are still in positive territory. So there's a chance for this to actually go a little bit higher. And maybe that is to test this actual high up here of about 502. Yields, I'm going to zoom into the 4 hour, and whether or not you like to use technical analysis on the yields, that's perfectly fine. Some people do, some people don't. But if you just notice here, we do have on the 4 hour a pretty significant divergence across the board, right? We have one here between these, and then we actually get that triple divergence, maybe even quadruple if you want to count this way dip down and a buyback, because we do get a little green bar there. So really, you do have some divergence here, and whether or not that does play out to the upside, I think that these are starting to, constrict a little bit more. Maybe these come even tighter and tighter and tighter and come down and test this previous high, right, that we broke through to get some selling in. And then we can start to see those yields maybe come up with some kind of news. We do have FOMC minutes next week. So we want to pay attention to that. And we're going to go over that data on Sunday. Now, the opposite side of that coin is going to be TLT, and just this move here is really dying out momentum-wise. So you really, if you're a bull, I think you wanted this to kind of break through and get pretty overbought again, right? When we do see this consolidation break, we want to see this start to make that break. And I think you're going to see a reaction come Monday in these yields. Something is going to happen possibly to get a big move because you notice how tight this is getting, right? So we are getting pretty tight in this. Is this going to move upward, meaning those yields are going to come down, or is it going to crash down? Right now, you do have a bearish wedge, right? So this has a good probability to end up going to the downside, which could mean we're in a time where we could see yields going higher for some reason. The VIX, on the daily, you can tell we're just closing below the 200, closing below the 50 again, so we get that bullishness. And overall on this channel, I am bullish into the end of the year. I'm just saying there could be some kind of pullback, and I really, I thought that pullback should have been this week, and I feel like the market would be a lot healthier if that happened, but it didn't happen, so now we have to look into next week for some kind of pullback. Now, what we want to pay attention to here is just the VIX is very close to that center line. It's very similar to what I said last night. We really just need the VIX to start making that positive trend. Okay, once you get that positive trend, and the positive trend can hold for quite some time, not just pop above and go right back down to negative territory, that's when we can start to see some bearishness get back into this market. The overall takeaway is I'm really interested to see what the yields do on Monday with TLT as tight as it is. So we want to pay attention to that, and then we overall just want to pay attention because there could be one or two more upswings on the hourly before we actually see that divergence get to negative territory. So that's just what we want to pay attention to. But as always, I just thank you guys so much for watching, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. If you want to get those weekly ranges, I am posting them for all the stocks that I covered down in the description. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great weekend, okay? And we'll wish you all the luck in the world on Sunday, but right now, I just want you guys to have a good weekend, all right? Peace.